Welcome back to Vintage 12 here on Kingston Plantation. Got a great entree for you tonight. This one's really easy. I know I always say that, but I mean it this time. What we're gonna do, meat and potatoes, but Vintage 12 style. We're gonna do a little Petit filet, and we're gonna top that with some palm frites. Palm frites, just a great phrase for French fries, really. Palm, right? Palm is apple. Pomme de terre is apple of the earth. Only the French could make a potato confusing. So palm frites just basically means fried apple or pear. So when we do that, we're gonna give it a little twist towards the end, just kind of make it our own. We're gonna layer some spinach in there, maybe a little carrot puree. So what do you say we get started? First thing we're gonna do, you know me, I just wanna to use one pan if I can, because if I'm the guy cleaning up, I don't like a big mess. So we're gonna try and time out our entree here to just use this one pan. First you gotta do, go to your butcher. I know everybody says you need to know a few people in life, right? You need to know a plumber, an electrician, a lawyer, and a chef or a butcher. Doesn't hurt either, right? Go get a great cut of meat. This is filet mignon. You can see it's got really nice marbling to it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of cracked black pepper and a little bit of kosher salt. We're just gonna season that up a touch. My guys here in the kitchen always know if I do this, it means it needs salt, right? So if you see me do that, that means salt your food. And then we're gonna pound a little black pepper in there. You gotta kind of push the black peppercorns into the steak so it holds, otherwise it kind of just rolls off right when you hit it. We're gonna take just a little bit of olive oil in our saute pan. Pop those fillets in there. So while that's going, what we're gonna do is start to suss out some of our other ingredients, right? So you've got just red skin potatoes, and these are julienne, really fine. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna fry those up. That'll be our palm frites. We've got a little bit of shallots here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna caramelize those. Just get those a little bit brown. You'll find that the juxtaposition between flavors of the black pepper and then the sweetness of that is really gonna clue it in. And then we're gonna finish it up with a couple of tomatoes and a little bit of spinach, right? So as these fillets are going, I don't know about you, but I'm a mid-rare kind of guy, so these won't take long for me. If you're gonna cook it a little bit longer, that's fine. Just remember that as that protein constricts, it's not gonna be as tender anymore. You're also gonna need, and here's one of the tricks, people always wonder why their steaks are overcooked, right? So it's called residual cooking. So when I take this out of the pan, even though the heat transfer is stopped, there's still cooking going on. We call it concentric circles, which is a nice phrase for there's still a lot of heat in the steak. So what I'll do, if I want it medium rare, I'm gonna pull it off at rare. I'm gonna set it on the counter and let it rest. And it's important to do that for a couple of reasons. The resting part also will let it continue to cook, right? But then it's striated meat, so it's like this. So when it gets aggravated by all of this heat, those striations really come together like this. So I'm sure you've cut into a steak, thought it was perfect, and then a minute later, there's just all this red juice on your plate, and now it looks like it's well done. They didn't let the meat rest. So a hot steak's important, but I'd rather have a really delicious warm steak that's rested for a little bit. So you can see the nice color on there. It's really pretty, like really pretty. So I'm gonna set that aside, and like we talked about, I'm gonna let it rest. And as I do that, my pan's still real hot, and it's got a bunch of great flavor in it, right? Because it's got all that beef flavor in it. So I'm gonna do the shallots in here. I'm gonna get these nice and brown. And you know what, I'm gonna cheat just a touch. I'm gonna add a little bit of sugar into there, and what that'll do is that'll get that to caramelize a little bit quicker. And it'll still retain that crispness in the onion, but it's gonna give it all of that really, really good, you know, that grilled onion flavor that when you go to like a Greasy Spoon and order a steak and it's got all those grilled onions on top of it, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna set that aside. Once again, we're still sticking with that, how many things can I do in one pan, right? So I'm gonna take the spinach. Spinach is like 90% water. So when it looks like you got a ton of spinach, you're gonna realize you don't have that much spinach in a couple of seconds. So that's gonna break down, and I want it to break down, right? I love crisp spinach, but for this particular application, I want it to get really dark green. So that's gonna involve getting a lot of that moisture to come out of the spinach. So what we got going right now is our steaks resting, our shallots are all ready. Spinach is almost done. Now with the spinach, I'm gonna go right onto the plate with that. You can see how that's turned that really, really great dark green. And that's gonna be the basis for the fillets. So, while we're gonna be ready to dish up, I'm gonna start those potatoes. Potatoes are gonna take a little bit more oil because you gotta cover them all the way. Couple of tricks you can do with this is you can use oil that's already been cooked in, you know, so if you've got, say, bacon fat, right? My mom was big on saving bacon fat. I think everybody's mom was at some point because it was before cooking shows and all this stuff. And she would pull down this little Folgers jar full of bacon grease, right, and add it into stuff, and it was just magic. And you never figure out why mom's stuff always tasted so much better. And it's because she was just loading us down with bacon fat. Now we're a little more health conscious. We kind of know what we're putting in our bodies here. But I can tell you that flavor does come from the fat. We all talk about it. We all know it. It's one of those, you know, lovely little secrets we want to stay in the closet, right? So I'm also going to add just a couple of tomatoes. I've got some more heirloom tomatoes grown locally here in South Carolina. And I'm going to add those in with those cooking potatoes. And that's just going to give us a little bit of color, right? A little bit of flair. We got a lot of neutral colors going on, and we want that eye appeal to come. When we talk about different things and how many things you can add to a plate, right? At one point, it's going to get confusing. You got to think of it like art, right? So if this is art, then the plate's the canvas, right? And it's got a border, it's got an edge, a frame, if you will, around it. And you know, you don't want the art going off the frame, right? So pick a border and stay within it. And then what you have to remember is it's kind of like fractal geometry. That sounds really big, but it's not. It's small, I promise. Think Jackson Pollock if you like art, right? At one point, there's too much stuff going on, and it confuses our brains. It comes from a different aspect of it, but you need balance to create somebody to feel something comfortable and that it's done right. So that's kind of my job as a chef. I'm going to impart that to you. So as we start to place this up, we get that beautiful brown color on there. We're going to get these shallots in here, but I want to make sure that we're not covering up the steak with the shallots. The shallots are great and all, but you really want the star of the show to be that fillet, right? Potatoes are almost done. Start to get those tomatoes out. So earlier today, I made up a carrot puree, and I've attached a recipe for that in the link. That you can do. It's really easy. The reason I didn't show it today because it's really boring, right? You're overcooking a carrot. Think of it like making baby food, right? So you're making baby food, but it gets this really bright, vibrant color, and you're reducing the flavors from that carrot. So you're taking out the moisture and really putting the carrot flavor like just over the top. Also, it just adds a really nice flair to the plate in general, and it's something that most people don't do. I mean, that's why you want to know a chef, right? Because he's going to show you all the little tricks that most people don't do at home. Your guests come over, all of a sudden you're a genius. You know, how'd you learn that? You tell them you know me, it's okay. So, pommes frites, remember our fancy French fries? We're going to get those right over in the corner. You got to remember too, when you've got a lot of components in your dish, the more components, the less weight each of those components has, right? So if it was just steak and a bunch of potatoes, I'm going to increase the size of the potatoes, right? But now that we've got tomatoes and spinach and shallots and all this other stuff, we start to condense the size of those. Otherwise, you're going to end up with an all-you-can-eat buffet on a plate. Don't want to do that. All right, so there's always a trick. Here's the trick. Rosemary. So rosemary, you can get it anywhere, right? Leave it out for a day so it gets a little bit dry, and then you can take your torch. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this torch in our next episode, but you take your torch, you just get that crisped up a little bit. Now what's going to happen is that smell, that great Christmassy rosemary smell, it's going to start coming out, right? You can see it start to smoke. Lay that across the dish. Kaboom! You just had filet at Vintage 12. Thanks. We'll see you next time.